Right, hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to today's video, and today of course we are following on with our PS4 Controller Sync repair issue when that issue is caused by a corruption in firmware. And this has been one that I know a few of you have been waiting for. We did part one the other week, which actually involved buying the bits and assembling the programmer that you're going to need to use to dump the NOR flash from the PS4. So if you haven't already seen that, we're going to link that in an annotation just here because you're going to want to go and watch that. Part 3 will be following fairly shortly. I do have a demo board which has taken me some time to procure, but thankfully I now have that, so I can go away and repair that and actually film the process, and then we can get part 3 up and then you should be good to go. So whereas on the first part there are one or two little discrepancies between the CUH 1000 series and the 1200 series, this part 2 is actually universal. So whether you've got a CUH 1100, 1000 or a 1200 series PS4 is irrelevant. Part 2 applies to all of you. So you don't need to worry about whether this bit applies to you or whether that bit applies to you. This video is going to apply to all of you, so that's all good. So as I say, I actually have all this sort of stuff set up on my laptop anyway, but what I have done in the meantime is I've set up a virtual machine which I'm going to be able to use to actually demonstrate this installation process for you. So we're going to get on with that now, so enjoy. So at the moment I have the Teensy for all intents and purposes unplugged from my machine. I have actually sort of cleared the flash and just put a very simple program on the Teensy board, so it's not running SPIWay at all or anything like that. So for all intents and purposes, the thing is done. It's completely blank, as yours will be. The Teensy boards actually ship with a very small bootloader on them, which basically enables them to talk to the programming application and no more. So as it stands at the moment, if you actually try to just plug it in, install the drivers and dump away, you're going to be very disappointed. There are a couple of steps we're going to need to go through. There's a couple of things we're going to need to download, and this is exactly what we're going to show you now, so that you can take your brand new shiny spanking Teensy board programmer that we've built and actually get it to do some firmware dumping. So today that's what we're going to do. So without further ado, we're going to go and perform the first step, which is to actually download the software we're going to need to do this. So you're going to want to open your web browser. And as I say, this is just a basic blank VM. There's nothing on here at all. So we're using Microsoft Edge as a web browser. And the first thing we're going to want to do is we're actually going to get something called a PS4 Acid Flash Tool. And the Acid Flash Tool is acid spelt with a 1. So I'll tell you what, we'll actually go and type that into Google because Bing is bloody awful. There we go. So what we're going to want to go and do is we're going to want to look for, ideally we want the GitHub version, so let's put that in there. There we go. So it's this top one here, this CFW Profit PS4 Acid Flash Tool. So that's the top result in Google. And we're going to want to go over here where it says clone or download. And we're going to download a zip. And we're just going to allow that to download. Now obviously you can put that in a folder wherever you like on your machine. But this is just going to go by default into our downloads folder as part of our user profile. So we're just going to let it do that. We're quite happy for it to do that today. The second place we're going to want to go is we're going to go back to Google. And this time we actually want to go download Python. So Python is the thing which SPIWay runs on. It's basically a Python script. So we want to download Python, so you'll notice that little result there. And we're going to download Python 2.7.12, so that's the latest version 2. We're going to avoid Python version 3 for now. It's Python version 2 we're after. Okay, so once we've got Python, we're going to go back to Google. And this time we want something called PySerial, so we're going to search for PySerial installer. Version 2.7 is the version we want. I believe that's the latest at the time of writing, so it's the top result there, that pypy.python.org. We've got PySerial 2.7 Win32, so that's the Windows version there. For Python 2.x, you can see there's an option for Python 3, but we're going for Python 2, so it's that middle result there we want. And that's now finished downloading. Then we're going to go back to Google again. This time we're looking for SPIWay HJudges, and he has that hosted on his GitHub. And again, there you can see the HJudges Norway PS4 NOR flasher tool for TT2++ 2.0. The top result there. Don't worry about the fact it says it's for PS3. So again, clone or download, download zip. Okay, and then finally, we're going to go back to Google again. And this time we're after something called TeensyLoader. And it's the first result there, the pjrc.com, teensy/loader.html. So we'll click that. And obviously this is going to depend on what version of the OS you're running, but I would presume by now most people are running at least Windows 7. So it's this Windows 7 and Vista is the particular flavour we want. And that's going to take you to this next page and the files to download section there. And you're going to want the TeensyLoader program, which is about 1.3 megabytes. You don't need the LED blink, that's just a test program. So it's just that TeensyLoader program that you're going to want. And so that's everything we have downloaded now. So we're going to open our downloads folder, and as you can see there now, we actually have a few bits and pieces in there. So that's all good. And as I say, this is a blank VM. We've got nothing set up on here. So the first thing we're going to want to do is, once we've got everything downloaded, first thing we are going to install Python, because of course Python is what everything is going to run on. So make sure that you tick that the option for install for all users is selected, and then hit next. I leave it in the default location, CPython 27. Just hit next. So the standard feature set is more than capable of doing what we want. So this will take a few moments. Obviously this is going to depend on the speed of your machine. Got a fairly basic VM here, 4 gig of RAM. So all the Python libraries now getting installed to our machine. So this is the base that everything else is going to run from. So we're just going to allow it to run through and complete in its own time here. So remember, at this point we don't have the Teensy board plugged in at all. That shouldn't be anywhere near your USB ports at the moment. Okay, so Python 2.7.12 has now installed itself, so we're going to hit finish. And then of course we actually need to provide that link between Python and the Teensy hardware, and that's done through PySerial. So we're going to go double click the PySerial installer, select to run that. And again, you're going to want to point it to your Python directory. So if you installed that to a custom directory, then make sure you update that there. We left ours as a default, so again, we're going to leave it. And the installation directory for PySerial is just going to go into there. So again, quite happy just to leave that as is, and we're ready to install. So we're just going to click next. And this is actually quite a quick little thing to install there. So as you can see there, that's finished. Okay, so for all intents and purposes now we have the necessary base to actually run some things off. So next job is to actually extract the Norway and the PS4 Acid Flash tools. So we'll do Norway first because that's going to be the most useful. So we'll extract that. You can extract that anywhere you like on your hard disk. This tool was developed for PS3 initially. It has been updated to incorporate the flashes from the PS4, which is really cool. So the ones we're interested in at the moment are SPIWay. So these files down here at the bottom. And if you go into the SPIWay folder, release SPIWay.hex, that's the next thing we're going to want. So we're going to copy that file to our desktop for now, so we know where it is. This is the actual binaries that we're going to upload to the Teensy programmer, so that we can actually turn our Teensy from a dumb, development board into something we can actually use to dump some PlayStation firmware. So for now, we'll leave that where it is. And the next job, of course, is we're going to want to actually connect our Teensy to our PC. So okay, so for all intents and purposes now, our Teensy is actually plugged into our machine. So if we double click the little teensy.exe that we downloaded earlier, you'll see that it says press button on Teensy to manually enter program mode. So we'll do that. And then you will actually get this. And so once you hit that button, you should see the Teensy board actually show up within the teensy.exe there. So as you can see at the bottom, it says no file specified. We're going to go ahead now and open a hex file. And we're going to point that towards the desktop. And of course, that is where we copied out the binary, the SPIWay.hex. And we're going to say open to that. And you can see there now that that's actually loaded into the program. That's going to utilize 4% of the onboard storage of the Teensy. And then this little arrow, this sort of downwards pointing arrow, which is program. And we're going to say program. And then you're going to get a message that download is complete. And then we're going to reboot the Teensy. So that's actually going to send the Teensy away. So that's going to go down reboot. And then what you should find is, once it's rebooted, it should come back up. And actually now, just for completion, if we go into Teensy, we should see that indeed it detects that we have SPIWay.hex loaded onto our Teensy board, and of course 4% of storage is used. So that's our board all programmed up. You will notice on this virtual machine here, when I actually offer it USB devices, it's now detected as a Judges Norway PS3 Flash USB serial, which is interesting. And if we go into manage this PC, hopefully we should see within device manager we now have a section here called ports, common LPT, and we can see now we have a USB serial device on COM port 3. Which is great. So that actually means that our Teensy board is detected, and it's actually now in my computer. USB serial device on COM port 3, so that is the COM port we're going to use to actually talk to our Teensy device when we've actually got a BIOS chip to plug in there. Okay, so from there, as I say, that's pretty much it. Our Teensy board is programmed. It's now capable of dumping our PlayStation firmware. It's installed on our PC and we're ready to go. The next thing we're just going to do though, now as I say, if you watched part 1, then you'll know that we're going to look at this PS4 acid flash tool. We're not going to utilize it to actually do much, to be honest. As far as the actual dumping and programming processes go, we're just going to use SPIWay via command line. But the option's there for you to use acid flash if you want to, if you'd rather use the GUI, but the commands are very, very simple via command line. And actually, the latest version of SPIWay, which we downloaded, actually isn't supported by acid flash. I think acid flash uses version 0.2. The latest version, I think, is 0.3. So actually utilising the later version doesn't recognise it. So anyway, as I say, we're going to show you the command line way, and to be honest, that's the way you should be using. The only thing we're going to use acid flash tool for is to actually separate the various parts of the firmware out, just to make it easier to find the bits and pieces that we actually want. So we're going to pop a shortcut to it on our desktop there. And to actually get it to run, you are going to need to run it as administrator. If you don't, you do get some rather strange sort of error messages out of it. It is sort of like a tool that it's very good. I do like it, and it does prove useful, as I say, for separating the various bits of flash out, so we can actually find the bits and pieces that we need. It did sort of like have some really early developments. I'm not sure if there's much going on about it now, so there are one or two little bugs and idiosyncrasies in there, but as I say, for just separating out the various parts of flash, it serves a purpose for us. So we're not going to use it for much more than that, and you'll see a little bit more of this tool in part 3. But that is there now and is running on our machine. You can remove this SPIWay.hex from there now, from your desktop. You don't need that there. So as I say now, we have, if you look under Manage, Device Manager, so we can see there, if you have this USB serial device and a COM port number there, then you're good to go. As I say, we have acid flash there. We've downloaded SPI in Norway. What you can do is, rather like me, I actually set myself a little shortcut on the desktop to actually shortcut my way to this download. So that basically means you can open command line in that location. So the location of the item we want, and we're just going to cancel out of the wizard. Nope, no, we're not. So you're going to browse for folders, and then we're going to go and do into our downloads folder, so we can find the location of where we've actually put our SPIWay installation, which in our case is C users Andrew downloads Norway master. Yours will most probably be different. And of course, we're using the SPIWay as opposed to Norway, so we're going to just name our shortcut accordingly. So it's actually created as a folder shortcut. But we're going to want to change that. So we're going to take that out of target and put it into start in. And we're actually going to point this at C, Windows, System32, cmd.exe. We're going to apply that. Say OK. So now when you double click that shortcut, you can see that I actually start up in the correct folder. So that's just going to make it easier for us when we actually come to dump. So rather than having to start a command window and go cd dot dot, or cd space and then type in the path to where our SPIWay installation actually lives, it saves us the job, because all we have to do now is actually just double click our SPIWay shortcut and we open to the correct folder. So that's it, we're all set up, we have everything there nice and just where we want it. Our Teensy board is programmed, it's ready to dump flash, software is all installed as we need it, and we're ready to go. So part 3 will be along in the next couple of days, and so hopefully that's proved useful to you. As always, if you have any problems, any questions for me, then you can hit me up on here, or like I say, drop me a comment, drop me in the video below, drop me a message. Like I say, thank you for watching, please comment, rate and subscribe, and I will see you for part 3 shortly. So thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and it's goodbye from me.